Hello and welcome to the Sister Mind Roundtable. Today's topic is real talk about success in business. I'm your MC for the day, Suzanne Culberg, the Nope Coach. Hello to everyone in the Zoom room. We encourage you to have your cameras on as we are recording on presenter view, so you won't have your face on the replay. Welcome to those catching the replay. You may only be seeing my face, but we have a number of people gathered in the Zoom room. And I like to say that because sometimes you're watching a replay and you're only seeing one person and it's a little bit confusing. So if you're catching us on the replay, that is the case. A very brief agenda. Each of our 6 speakers will present for 10 minutes each. Then we're going to stop the recording. So for those of you here live, we're going to have Q&A at the end. So stay tuned. For the cleanliness of the recording, you are all muted, just so we don't have that random interruption that, we're all become used to in the days of Zoom. We encourage you to use the chat box to engage, chat, comment, share. The one thing we do ask is please don't private message any of the speakers, because when we're presenting, we're not able to respond to private messages because we're presenting. Each speaker will share their contact details / gift if they have one in the chat box following their presentation. The chat box can move super fast depending on how chatty you're feeling today. So if you miss any details, we will post them in the description of the replay, so you won't miss out on any of the information from each of our speakers. A couple of warm-up questions to get us started. For those who are in the room, put a 1 in the chat box if this is your first roundtable, and put a 2 if you've been before. 1, 1. I've got lots of newbies. Oh, there we go. There's our first 2. I'm waiting for the speakers to give me a 2. There it is. I knew some of you guys were going to do that. I love it. A nice mix. Wonderful. And just to get the gears turning, what is one word that describes how you feel right now about success in your business? There's no shame, no judgment, whatever it is that comes up, how you're going in your business right now. You're here for a talk about success. So in terms of your success, how do you feel? Optimistic, hopeful, another hopeful, momentum, hustle, slow, positive. I love all these words. Focused, unreachable, curious, celebrate, overwhelmed. I just want to normalize. There's a full gamut of emotions happening today. Ooh, potential, distant, reorienting, ambivalent. I love it. I love it so much. So we appreciate that time is your most valuable resource, and we aim to make this an action-packed event. So without further ado, let's get us started. I'll hand us over to our first speaker, Karen.
Hello all. Before I dive in, as Suzanne might have said to some of you, please grab something to doodle on and doodle with for the full experience of this presentation. I promise you don't need skill. It's just fun and a little bit insightful. So hello, my name is Karen, and I have a complicated relationship with business success. If you feel me here, let me know in the chat. Drop me an emoji, say a me too. Let me know I'm not alone in this room. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. Oh, I've also always been an artist. Are there any other artists or creatives in the room? Raise your hand if you identify or drop it in the chat. All right, I'm not alone there either. So you might get what I mean when I say that from a young age, I was unfortunately led to believe that being successful as an artist wasn't likely, at least not by society's usual standards. And the message was pervasive. I can't tell you how many times I heard things like, it's so cool you are an artist, but how will you make a living? Ugh. As an artist, I received and internalized the idea that I couldn't possibly be a smart businesswoman. Surely that would be really difficult for me. Art and business are 2 different worlds. Furthermore, if you think a little bit differently, you might call yourself neurodiverse in some way. Well, that's an extra layer of getting it wrong conditioning. Any other people identify as neurodiverse in here? Oh, I got all kinds of good company. Yes. Even if you aren't an artist, most of us have received the message in one way, shape, or form that we couldn't possibly be successful doing what we love. In the last 5 years, though, I've learned so much on this entrepreneurial journey, and I want to share an important piece of that learning with you now. So here comes the doodling. I want you to just play along with me and get some helpful insight into yourself. This does not need to look good to be effective, okay? So for the next 30 seconds, I want you to doodle yourself. Go ahead and start. Just doodle yourself. Don't overthink. Jump in. Let the doodle unfold. Okay, if it's a little messy, just do the best doodle of yourself you can do. Give you about 10 more seconds. As you finish up your doodle, I want you to contemplate this question. What rules did you make up about what you were supposed to do when I asked you to doodle yourself? Let me know in the chat, what rules did you make up about my instructions? See what we got. Had to doodle person, had to look accurate, self-portrait, look like you, good, perfect, yes. And in fact, right, all I said is doodle yourself. You might not even have had to use a pen and paper. You could have air doodled, right? It could be totally abstract. You could look like a cloud if that was the best expression of you. I've done this exercise with a lot of people, and every single person realizes that they made up and followed at least one rule unconsciously. And it's a pretty good bet that we are creating and playing by many rules we aren't aware of in our business life as well. Sometimes we are aware of them, but maybe we haven't discerned if they're actually a good fit for us. The same rule can be helpful to one person and completely detrimental to another. Or the same rule that it could be helpful to us at one point in our life might hurt us at another time. We outgrow our rules and they have to change with us. And when we are following rules without awareness, many of those rules hold us back and keep us from seeing that we have other choices. For a long time, I mostly played by other people's rules that said I could not be successful as an artist in business, doing things how I naturally wanted to do them. Ironically, playing by those rules only seemed to prove those hideous messages right. So those rules always make me feel like I'm failing, floundering, or lost. Through a series of breaking points, I started learning the signs of playing by other people's rules so I could pause to consider them. Some of my signs look like exhaustion. Trying to follow all the popular and latest how-tos of business is overwhelming and tiring. Not spending enough time making art. Other people's playbooks cause me to not prioritize well for myself. Lack of inspiration. If my business is not infused with my special sauce, I feel dried up and uncreative. Annoyed and resentful. If I'm not doing enough of me, other people needing things from me makes me super annoyed. This awareness has been helping me in the ongoing process of scrapping unhelpful inherited playbooks of business and instead creating my own. Here are two crucial processes involved in my creations. First, I still read, listen, and watch and learn from others, but I take ample time to discern what parts I will sprinkle in and how it will have my creative flavor to serve my desired lifestyle and vision. The second process is remembering. I am constantly reminding myself of the way I am naturally moved to do things, the way I have naturally done things in the past before my fears let other rules get in the way. I remember the way I naturally use my creativity to do things differently and effectively, and the natural way I wanted to share my work because I was so excited and wanted to connect and converse over art. So with these processes, I've been filling in my living, breathing playbook with rules such as art comes first. That's my number one rule these days. Make ample time to create. 2, set myself up to be inspired, so creating programming and connecting comes with more ease. 3, consistently share my offerings, but give myself a variety of ways to share them that make me feel good. 4, forget the box. Be the multi-passionate, talented person I am. Trust what makes me shine, not shrink. 5, show up messy. Let go of needing it to be perfect and all figured out. Just let that go. 6, use my support system, like actually use them. 7, create helpful processes and systems to minimize tasks I don't enjoy and relax. 8, do some research, but leave the final decisions to my body and heart. 9, play, and play some more. And 10, change the rules whenever more truth is realized, allowing my business to evolve with me. I think you know you've created your own playbook of empowering rules when you feel immediately successful just by following them. And I believe that is a key. Feeling successful brings a different energy into all you do. It's more likely to differentiate you in a helpful way, so you attract and detract all the right people. It keeps you in a creative groove so that those amazing business ideas can happen and your motivation just jumps in. I don't know exactly how long it takes to be successful in business, but I do know that when I practice living from my playbook, I recognize how successful I am now and see immediate results. I create art and programs others like, buy into, and engage with. I make the connections that make work fun, meaningful, and profitable. This is how I've managed to work for myself and sustain myself for the past 5 years. This I see as a true success, even if it isn't my ultimate success. Now, I want everybody to close your eyes and visualize this. Go ahead and close them for a second. I want you to imagine yourself throwing out all those unhelpful rules that you have internalized about success in any way you see it. Just see yourself throwing them out. And let's all take a nice deep breath in and let's sigh them out. Let them go. And now with your eyes closed, picture yourself picking up the most beautiful, magical pen, marker, paintbrush you've ever seen and creating your own playbook full of your own rules about what you need to achieve business success. From this place, I want you to open your eyes and doodle yourself once more. What rules do you want to play by now? What does this empowered version of yourself look like now? Go ahead and doodle while I finish up. This is a doodle of me. And with it, I will finally introduce myself here at the end, because the rule I made up about needing to do that at the beginning did not serve me or this talk. My name is Karen Light, and I'm a successful professional artist, illustrator, and entrepreneur. I use my artistic teaching and coaching background to help other creatives become successful according to their rules and definitions. I show them creative ways to approach executive functioning so they can create their own playbook on how to function in ways that are natural to them. Now, as you're doodling, if you want to go ahead and hold them up, what you got to so far? Anybody want to hold their doodle up? Anybody brave enough? See what you got. Ooh, some are flipping, some are coming. Yes. Thanks for being brave, you all. Now it's time to go out there and create the playbook that looks more like you, the you doodled here at the end. And for some inspiration in your creative journey to business success, you can find my 10 ways to start creating more now in the chat and in the show notes. Thank you so much, all.
Thank you, Karen. That was fabulous. Awesome. Next up, we have Caroline, handing over to you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Wonderful presentation, Karen. Hello, everyone. I'm Caroline. I'm a business coach for conscious change makers. So that's coaches, healers, teachers, and I support them to do business with greater levels of integrity. And I've got some slides for you today, so I'm just going to share screen. The title of my slide is What to Expect on the Journey to Success. I find that knowing what to expect helps with the process. And there's going to be 3 things that we're going to consider today. So number 1 is how long success really takes, which obviously depends, but we'll give it a stab. The 5 stages of business growth as I see it, and the painful and sometimes invisible part of the journey. So for the purposes of today, of course, success is very personal. We'll all have our own definition of success, but for the purposes of what I'm going to talk about today, how I'm defining success is having an established business that covers all of your financial needs in a way that feels fulfilling and sustainable to you. So just so we're clear that that's the definition that we're working with for the next 10 minutes at least. So in terms of the question, how long success really takes, one of my pet peeves is the prevalence of the kind of overnight success myth that we see online. It drives me insane. And I'm here to say it is a myth. It's an exception rather than the rule. And it's something that I think is really toxic to many business owners, established and newbies, because it kind of sets us up to believe that we're failing if we don't make, we're not making 6 figures in 6 weeks. So in the real world, I say in inverted commas, you know, it's commonly known that most businesses will fail in their first 2 years. It's expected. It's not something that People question. It's a struggle. It's hard. So even just avoiding failure in the first 2 years for most real in-person businesses is the challenge. But for some reason, in the online world, we have these kind of really gross expectations that we should be able to, start from zero and hit success in a really short time frame. I'm here to tell you that's not the case, obviously. And for me, before you can reach the holy grail of consistent income, there are two things I believe that you need to have in place. Number one is a growing and well-engaged audience of people who know, like, and trust you, and who have a specific need or problem. You also need to have in place a well-designed product or service that specifically fulfills this need or solves this problem. And if you've been in business for any time at all, you know that those don't get created in 6 weeks, 6 months, and sometimes even in 6 years. So it's just, a lot of what I'm going to talk about over the next 10 minutes is why this process takes the time it does. In my experience, my personal experience, and that of my clients and also several of my colleagues, it typically takes around 4 years. I mean, of course, it really depends and it can, shift and change, but 4 years of working on the right things consistently. And so when I share that sometimes with people, there's either relief or there's panic. It's like, oh my God, I thought it'd be so much sooner. Or there's relief that, oh, wow, okay, I can kind of settle in for the journey and know I'm not, a massive failure because it's been 2.5 years and I'm not yet at the 6-figure mark. So that's where we're going to start with how long success takes. Next, I want to walk us through the 5 stages of business growth as I see it. So again, this is to illustrate that there isn't just we start a business, we succeed in business. There are stages that we have to go through, that our business matures through, that we as business owners mature through. And I just want to run through some of these, and you'll see each one is a meaty phase in itself, and of course takes time, and there's lessons and pitfalls. So stage 1 is desire. This is what I call pre-business. It's the desire to start a business. We have an idea behind it. I see a lot of people hanging out here without ever even making it to stage 2. I myself spent around 2 years hanging out here. I quit my career, my lucrative career in program management, decided to travel the world and become a life coach, and spent 2 years kind of talking about that and not really doing much about it. So we can get stuck here easily. Stage 2 is what I call prepare. So this is when you move beyond thinking about your business and you start taking some actual tangible actions. You might not yet at this stage have any paying clients, but you have the makings of a business. This is where we can get stuck tinkering with websites and Facebook pages and branding, all possibly too soon. But we can easily get stuck here kind of, in the preparation stage of our business, feeling like we have to perfect things before we launch them to the world. So we're already 2 stages and we haven't even got a paying client yet. So stage 3 is what I call begin. This is where you really can call yourself a business. You've made a sale or 2, and now you know that this is possible. And you may be like high on that kind of initial, I made a sale, people actually want what I have to offer. And then we can quickly in this stage fall into what I call feast and famine. So some months are great, some months are crickets, and we're like, oh my goodness. And we often at this stage don't really know when our next client comes. It feels more like luck than as a result of, strategy. We're just like, I don't know where they come from and I don't know when they're going to come. So a lot of people that I deal with hang out in stage 3. And it's actually my favorite place to help people get out of. Stage 4 is what I call sustain. So this is where things start to feel easier. Your business is now covering its costs and hopefully your living expenses, but there's not much wiggle room here. So this is where we might feel like, oh my goodness, I'm doing okay, but if I lose a client or 2, I'm going to be like having to whip out the credit card to pay my rent, or, we're living from paycheck to paycheck. It's not, and it's not paycheck as we know, but, we're living like month by month, just hoping that nothing changes. And then stage 5, which of course is the Holy Grail, is prosper. So this is the stage when your business does more than just cover your expenses. It's a time when you might finally be able to hire some help, outsource some things, get a VA, invest in your business. It also might be a time that personally you can start to clear some debt and start saving. So this is what we're aiming for. And so it makes sense when you see these 5 stages laid out that there's absolutely no way you can go from 1 to 5 in a really short period of time. And it's just really important. I find it's really helpful to know where you are in the process, to know what that looks like and what needs to happen in each stage. And I've got some resources for you where I go into these stages in a bit more detail, which I'll share at the end of my slot. And I'd love to know if you wanted to drop into the chat which stage you're at. If you feel called to share, just put the number in, and I'd love to see those come in. And as you do that, I'm going to move into what I call the painful part. So this is the middle bit. We've started our business, but it's not yet working as we need it to be. So we're doing the work, we're implementing the strategies, we're hopefully doing the right things consistently, but we're not yet getting the results that we need, or we're not yet at that point where we can say categorically, this thing is a success. I can trust in it, I can rely on it, we're in that middle space. And it doesn't get talked about. It doesn't get talked about, this painful and often invisible part of the process. And so something that I recommend to my clients is, rather than hang out in the space of doing stuff, taking action, but not yet being where we need to be, not yet being at that point where we can say this thing is a success, rather than think that lack of tangible results is because you're a failure, what if you knew that this was an expected and necessary part of the journey? What would that do? How would you feel? What difference would that make? So I'm here to tell you, all businesses go through that stage. All businesses start at zero followers, 0 clients, 0 subscribers. Even those business owners that currently are making multiple 6 figures and have tens of thousands of followers, they've all been through this phase where they weren't yet certain that this thing was going to work or that it was working. And my best advice for people in this stage is to get curious and have faith. And I'll just explain that briefly. So if you're not sure if the lack of results that you're getting as you implement strategies in your business is because you're not executing the strategy correctly, because of course, how do we know? We don't know if it's because it just hasn't started working yet, or if we're implementing it incorrectly. Then my advice is get curious, seek feedback, talk to your customers and your clients, reach out to peers, reach out to mentors, get curious, deepen your understanding of the strategy, up-level your skills, get curious and go all in on what you're trying to achieve with your business. If you feel like you've done that, if you feel like you're doing everything you should be doing and yet you're still not getting the results you desire, then my next piece of advice is have faith. Have faith that these things take time. Have faith that the algorithm needs time to notice your consistency and that you're putting content out on a regular basis. It takes time for people to realize that you're not just another flash in the pan, that you're here to stick around and you're serious about what you have to offer. And so I meet people all the time who are in this phase of like feeling like, things aren't yet working. And my advice is to get curious and have faith. And that's it for me. I'm going to just drop, I've got a folder with some further resources and some further reading, and I'll drop them in the chat for you now. Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you so much, Caroline. So many takeaways, the 5-stage framework. I must say, going into what I'm just about to talk about, some of you might say that I may have attempted some stage 5 strategies while I was in stage 1. And that didn't work well. Alrighty. So without further ado, introducing myself. I'm Suzanne Culberg, the Nope Coach. I have a podcast and a YouTube channel, both by that name. I'm a sweary fairy, fast-talking, no BS Aussie, and I'm also a chai latte and a book addict. So I help overgivers and people pleasers learn to set boundaries and say no without feeling like a bitch. Did warn you about the swearing. So I'm going to start today with a story. I've even written it out. I'm prepared. So we're going to talk about Jane. Jane is a life coach who wants to grow her business. So Jane hires a business coach who tells her that the secret to getting clients is to run webinars. So Jane attends all of her coaches' trainings about how to run a webinar, how to structure it, what to say, how to make an offer. And then Jane recognizes that she has no idea how to do slides. So she hires someone to help her create a slide deck. And then Jane realizes that she's not really that great at tech. So she hires another person to help her with the back-end setup, create the sign-up box, link it to the Zoom link, that auto sends the replay, and so on and so forth. So Jane runs her first webinar. She's really excited. She's going to make it. And crickets. No one turns up. Hardly anyone signs up. Nobody watches the replay. So Jane's like, I just need to know how to promote my webinar. So on advice from her business coach, she hires a copywriter to help her write promo emails and a branding expert to help her get clear on her messaging. Meanwhile, Jane attends every training she can find about how to write drool-worthy offers that your clients are lining up for. And she feels ready. And she runs another webinar. People sign up. People attend. People are raving about it. Oh, hallelujah, she's made it. But when it comes to sales, once again, crickets. Jane wonders what's going wrong. She consults her business coach who tells her, it must be your mindset. So she hires someone to help her clear her blocks. And then the next webinar comes. There's even more signups than before. This is going to be her moment. When it comes to sales, still crickets. Jane is confused. She's been investing in her business. So far, she's hired 7 people and she hasn't made a cent. But this doesn't matter because Jane's been told that webinars are the way to get clients. And if she has X signups, the conversion rate will be Y, and she'll recoup all that she spent and even more. She just needs to stick with it. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Let me know in the chat box. Or something along those lines. I thought it might be the case. If you haven't guessed it yet, I was Jane. I was just like, what can I call myself? And I was like, Jane, as in Jane Doe. And I don't have time today to go into my full story, but I will let you know that I ran webinars for 13 months straight, and I didn't have any success with that strategy. And the point of this story is not to poo-poo on webinars. Like, I know that that is a strategy that is successful for some people. The point of this story is that business isn't just a numbers game. So many of these metrics are vanity stats: number of subscribers, number of signups, number of followers, number of likes, number of downloads, number of attendees. These vanity stats do not equal sales. So what does it take to be successful in your business? Firstly, defining what does success mean for you. And that's something I'm not going to be that horrible person who says, write this down. But I'd really encourage you to contemplate after this call, what does success mean to me? Like, I didn't do this initially. I got caught up in the 6 figures plus, retire my husband, hire a team, live a laptop lifestyle, whatever the frig that even means, whirlwind, which was never my dream in the first place. When I contemplated this question, success for me meant replacing my job income. So before starting a business, I had a customer service job in a call center. Do not recommend, 0 stars. That paid me $50,000 a year. And I started my business officially in 2018. And although I had a rocky start, for the past 4 years, I've more than exceeded my previous job income. Not yet at the 6 figures thing, but well above the 50K mark. So in that, nice rounding to me in the middle. And to me, that is successful. So the second thing is ditch the vanity metrics and just focus on the power of one. I'm guessing, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing everybody who's here today, you either have a service or a product-based business. You're not an influencer. Like, I don't know why you would be here, and no shade on influencers, but influencers, they need thousands of followers. They get their money on the ads and the clicks and the brand partnerships and all this sort of stuff. That's how influencers make their money. I'm not an influencer. Thank goodness for that. So I don't need thousands of followers to have a successful business. And as we've already established, big numbers don't necessarily equal big sales. My webinar number signups were growing. And also too, people assume when you've got a big-ish following and people know your face, they're like, oh, you must be making so much money. And you can't like lose face and say, I haven't sold squat. So the numbers mean nothing. Instead, focus on the power of one client, your next client, and get clear on what fully booked means for you. To set in another way, what is the maximum number of clients you can serve at any one time? And right now, like, I'm working one-on-one with clients. So fully booked for me is 5. The way my life works around my children, 5 clients is fully booked. 5 clients, have a wait list. My job is done. No need to be constantly running webinars and chasing sales. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy, not stress depressed lemon zest. So when we get clear on our numbers, focusing on the next one, our job gets very, very easy. And third, find a way to connect with potential clients that feels good for you. Now, this step is going to take some trial and error. What works for you? Don't do what I did and hire a business coach who's going to tell you webinars are the way and stick doggedly to the strategy for 13 months that isn't aligned for you. Also, don't go the other way and go, I tried it once and didn't work, because we've all done that. I tried it once, you know. But the other thing, you know, give it a good amount of trial and error, but not over a year's worth of trial and error. But be mindful of people who promise you solutions. The internet is packed full of people who are going to sell you the secrets to success. I did this, so you can too. And like, I can teach all of you how to make 10K months. Just give me 10K and I'll show you how. I'm being tongue in cheek, but this is what we see over and over again in the online business world. So all jokes aside, invest time in this step. Find out the strategy of the ways to connect with people that feel good for you. So ways that I enjoy with connecting with people, early in my business is a newsletter. I have a weekly, now it's called weekly-ish newsletter that I put out. And people will tell you that you need a drill-worthy, click-worthy subject heading. I had the data and I was going to share screen, but that's going to take up too much time. But my last email I sent out, the subject heading is Good Morning Voldemort, and I have over a 40% open rate. So people who love you will open whatever the frig you send out to them. That doesn't mean you send them crap, but I just did that out of pure curiosity because I was doing this today. I was like, is anyone actually going to open this? And they do. I love connecting with people. Newsletter, podcast guesting, especially if you're new. Don't create your own podcast, because the thing is, you're going to have the same problem I had with webinars. Nobody's coming to it. If you don't yet have an established audience, don't waste time procrastinating and creating all this stuff. Go guest on other people's shows. Podcasts, most of them love having guests, and you're doing the work for them if you send them a really good pitch. And now, years down the line, I've got my own podcast and my own YouTube, but I wouldn't start out with that. So in summary, following this session, I really encourage you to get clear on one, what does success mean to me? Not what other people are telling us, not, you know, the laptop lifestyle, 7 figures plus that you're going to need a ginormous team. There was a podcast I listened to. If anyone wants it, send me a message afterward and I'll find the link. It's not mine. But this lady, she was honest. She ran a $500,000 a year business and her take home was $50,000 because she was spending all of her money on ads and team and coach. And I was like, holy shit, I made more than her technically in the last 3 years. And my business is easy peasy lemon squeezy, not stress depressed lemon zest. So what does success mean for you? 2, ditch the vanity metrics, focus on the power of 1. And 3, find a way for connect with potential clients that feels good for you, not when someone else tells you what to do. So I have a gift. I've got a playlist. So basically, YouTube is my strategy for 2024. I'm upfront with that. So if you like my stuff, I encourage you to subscribe. I have a playlist of coaching sessions where I coach people for free. There's been a few people here in the room who have volunteered as tribute. Thank you very much. If you would like to do one of those sessions, there's a link to apply that I'll put in the chat box. It is free. The win-win is that I put it on my YouTube channel. So maybe don't come with your deepest, darkest, or if you do, use a code name. But yeah, I'll put that in the chat box. I also have a newsletter and a YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining. If you've got any questions, I look forward to chatting at the end. And I've finished with 20 seconds to go. So look at me go. All right, hang on. Presenter hat off, MC hat back on. Who's next?
Me.
Laura, handing over to you.
Me, who's regretting it right now after following you. I should not set this up this way. I was the one that decided the order. Next time we're doing it differently. Okay, I'm Laura Gates-Lupton. I am co-host of the Woman Uncaged podcast, a life and money coach, and a former psychotherapist. I primarily work with women at midlife who want to become earners. I'm going to talk about 5 myths in business, the truth as I see it, and what's currently working for me. The first business myth is, in order to be successful, you need a website. I've been a coach for 12 years and I've never had one. When I tell people I don't have a website, their first question is usually, well, how do people find you? People primarily find me through word of mouth and direct referral. About a year ago, I set up a simple landing page to make the process of signing up for a newsletter a bit easier. But to be honest, most people on my list do not come through that landing page. I'm keeping it, but I don't think it really helped all that much. One of my biggest referral sources is therapists, because I am a former therapist and I'm still active in that community. And I coach a lot of therapists who want to transition from agency work to private practice. So they refer to me. They don't necessarily know how people can find me. So they just use my name and leave it up to the clients to find me. And usually they do a search and end up finding me via LinkedIn. And I know the prevailing advice is to make it easy for people to find you, but I actually want to work with people who are savvy enough and interested enough to find me without making it easy or obvious. Because by doing so, they're already committed to the process. They've already invested a little bit of something, time, by having to search for me. And if someone isn't up for that, if they aren't willing to do that, then they're likely not a good fit for me. And that has spared us both some time. The second most asked question I get about not having a website is, what about sales pages? Like, how do I sell my offers? The answer to that is very simple. I use Google Docs. I throw my logo on a page, write the sales letter there, and then I can add FAQs as I go along or anything else that comes up. It's nimble, it's easy, it's simple, and it works for me. Myth number 2. In order to be successful in business, you must have a consistent social media presence. Well, thank heavens that isn't true, because I have zero interest in posting regularly on social media. I'd rather work at McDonald's, and I'm a vegetarian, so that's saying something. The truth, as I see it, is that you need a consistent way to reach your audience, preferably on a platform where you own the list of your followers' emails. At least that's how I see it. For me right now, that means I send out my Monday money missive every Monday, with very rare exceptions, and that's my consistent presence. The other thing I do that I would encourage you to consider is to nurture personal relationships with colleagues, potential referral sources, and potential clients. Does that take time? It does. But those relationships will love you back in a way that social media can't. They aren't algorithm dependent, and you are far more likely to get as much or more back than you put in. Myth number 3, success has a clear and agreed upon definition that applies to all of us. We often refer to someone who seems to have a lot of money as being successful. And I say seems because as a money coach, I often get to hear the truth behind appearances. And sometimes those appearances are funded by mountains of debt and anxiety. I don't agree that success means bringing in a lot of money. I think it's way more nuanced than that. And I think that we all get to decide what success means to us, exactly what Suzanne was saying. We get to decide what the definition is that fits us. And not only that, it can vary depending on where we are in our lives and in the life of our business, including what Caroline was talking about with the various stages. Your success at stage 1 is different than your success at stage 5. I will talk a bit later about what success means to me and what's working for me in my business shortly. But first, I want to share a way of thinking that I think can be helpful in experiencing day-to-day success. According to Oxford Languages, the definition of success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. The problem with the way most of us look at our aims, which can also be called goals, is that we see them as a destination. If your aim is to write a book this year with the intention that the book will boost your credibility and therefore bring in more clients, arriving at the goal of a completed book exists in the future. So I think it can be really helpful to create process goals to complement aims. The outcome goal is writing the book. The process goal is writing 500 words daily. Instead of being a faraway destination, process goals are something you can check off every day until you get to that destination. I like to turn almost all outcome goals into process goals, which are repeatable things that you can do to get to that outcome goal. Myth 4, you need a complicated business model. We've all heard how you need the funnel with free offerings at the top that progress through low ticket offers and eventually land with the high ticket offers at the bottom. And our clients are supposed to move from the top down through. But for solopreneurs, I think that's too much. I mean, what Suzanne was just talking about the woman who had the big revenue and was spending so much money that she was only taking home 50K is proof of this. It's like, we don't have the team that big name coaches have to support those kind of funnels. And I think telling people that they need them means a lot of extra work and a lot of scattered focus. For the rest of us, I really believe in simplicity. The biggest mistake I see solopreneurs making is putting a ton of thought, time, and energy into their free offers. The result being that their bread and butter offers, the ones that pay the bills, can feel like an afterthought. All roads lead to your paid offers. These are what you need to be talking about all the time. To my way of thinking, your freebies exist as an on-ramp to the things for which you get paid. Myth number 5, you have to have a big list in order to have a sustainable business. As of right now, today, I checked before I got on here, I have 139 people on my list. It's tiny. I also have an open rate of 62%. The second number matters much more than the first and is where I focus. I spend a lot of time on my newsletter, and I don't hold back when it comes to speaking my mind and sharing my point of view. The people who stay are my people, and they are very engaged readers. They write back to me and they forward my newsletters to others. Yesterday, I received an email from a woman. It was a long email that she wrote in response to my most recent missive. And she said, "Thank you for your writing. More often than not, your missives help move the needle for me. That's what I'm going for." Now, having said that, I do think it's hard to get a group program off the ground with a tiny list, which is why I'm not currently offering group coaching. Okay, so let's switch gears and I'll talk a bit about how I'm defining success for myself right now and what's working for me. So 2 weeks ago today, I separated from my husband after 28 years of marriage. I packed up everything I could and drove 500 miles to a new life chapter. Apologies to any friends watching this on recording who haven't told. I'm slowly rolling out this news, so sorry about that. But it's a big adjustment and it's taking, it's going to take some time. This new phase of life brings with it a new definition of success, and that is being able to fully financially provide for myself. So that's my focus right now. And that means focusing on my immediate needs, what I need to be bringing in every month, and not necessarily wants, wishes, luxuries. So it's changed from what it was before. My simplified business model right now is I get in front of people, I speak words or I write words, and they hire me. Therefore, my free offerings are all focused on getting in front of people. You're experiencing one of them right now, the Sistermind Roundtable, which was co-founded by Suzanne and me. I also record a weekly podcast with my dear friend and colleague, Linda Katz, who's here right now. Hi, Linda, called Woman Uncaged. We just wrapped up our first season with 23 episodes. I also do occasional guest teaching in other people's memberships, and I guest on other podcasts. You may have noticed that I did not include writing my newsletter as a freebie. That's because, although my subscribers don't pay for it, I get paid to write it. One of my 2 paid offers right now is a weekly content creation circle for entrepreneurs on Thursday mornings. The entrepreneurs pay for the circle, and that's where I write my Monday money missives that go out every week. So I get paid. The other paid offer is one-to-one coaching. And again, I mentioned earlier that I would encourage you to consider nurturing personal relationships with colleagues, referral sources, and potential clients. This is one thing that's really important to me in my current business. And it isn't optional the way I see it. I know solopreneurs struggle sometimes with making these connections and following up with people, but I think it's really important. I think it's actually more important than getting people on your list, but the two can go hand in hand. Whenever anyone comes through my scheduling system to do something with me, they get added to my list and they can unsubscribe if they want to, but that's one way that I build my list. I also keep a spreadsheet for following up with people I've met, which includes where and when we've met. If someone referred me, thank people who refer people. That really is important too. If they've expressed interest in working with me in the future, so I can follow up again at some point. And also to know who they're looking for as referrals, who are their ideal clients. So I can send someone to them who might not be a fit for me. And the goal isn't necessarily to turn these contacts into clients, but it is to have a mutually beneficial relationship with them. And I get so much out of that, including helping me get clients and run my business. If you are struggling with any of this around success, I do have an offer for you today, a free gift. It's available to 5 people, first come, first serve. It's a free session. I'll put a link in the chat and I would love to meet with you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Laura. That was incredible. Love it. Next up, we have Larisa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Larisa Noonan, and I just got super nervous. So just to let you know that that is what's going on over here. And to be honest, I really struggled with the topic of today's roundtable. If I judge success in terms of having multiple 6 figures in my bank account or hundreds of people showing up for every event, I should most definitely not be here speaking with you today, because that isn't true for me. One thing that is true is that through preparing for this roundtable, I realized just how much of me is caught up in a super limited definition of success. A definition where success equals money in the bank and/or a very specific and ever-increasing amount of money coming in every month. When I tried to look at my life and business through other definitions, I felt like I was just completely copping out. My mind started spinning out things like, so you can't meet the normal standard assumed definition of success? What are you going to do? Change the definition? What a loser. That kind of hurt. And as I spent time with these thoughts and feelings, I began to understand just how deeply ingrained this formula of success equals money is within me, and also how much I really want to shift that belief. And I began to realize just how much more freedom, spaciousness, and how much less self-loathing I might experience if I could fully shift this belief. And I began to ask myself questions like, if I could start to measure success in other ways, would I be living a lie? If our capitalistic society equates success with money and I call myself successful based on some other criteria, am I deceiving you in some way? And perhaps the most important question, does it even matter if I'm living a lie? If I'm feeling more peaceful, spacious, accepting, and loving of myself and others? If I'm able to be more present in my business, in my life, with my family, with my clients? Because that is what I most desire. And if my current definition of success is getting in the way of that, then maybe it's time to let it go. So then my question shifted to, if I were to look at my business more holistically, how might I actually want to define success? I could define success by whether or not desired shifts and changes are happening within the lives of my clients. They are. I could define success by whether or not I'm continuing to grow and change myself, or by whether I'm finding greater harmony and balance within my roles as a wife, a mother, a community member, a healer, a coach. That is also happening. I could and do define success by how deeply I'm listening to and following the promptings of spirit. And so I'm going to talk about how these intertwine, because over the past 4 to 6 months in particular, I've made some incredible shifts in my ability to more fully trust my guides and to actually do as they advise, even when it feels scary and it seems like the exact opposite of what I should be doing. For instance, I'm trusting that money will continue to arrive even as I've decreased the amount of time I spend working in order to do some deep, long-awaited self-healing and to tend more to my marriage and my home life. And as I've done this, so many of my patterns of self-reliance that have served to keep others at a distance and me in loops of anxiety and fear have simply fallen away. Additionally, and amazingly, long-standing imbalances both within me and within my relationship with my husband are becoming realigned seemingly effortlessly. And my work with clients feels deeper and more joyful than ever. It feels like a course correction. It feels, dare I say it, like success. And by the way, money has continued to flow in, not just through my work, but also in unexpected and surprising ways that are allowing me to lean into and trust even more deeply my new definitions of success. Which brings me to you. No matter how you define success, there is likely something you desire that would, for you, indicate success that you don't yet have. So whatever that is, if you haven't yet achieved it, I'm guessing there are some unconscious fears blocking you. And today I want to offer a process to help you uncover some of those fears. It is called the Deepest Fear Inventory and was developed by Carolyn Elliott, now Carolyn Lovewell, and you can read about it in depth in her amazing book, Existential Kink. And we're going to do this right now. So grab a piece of paper and think of something that you want in your life that you don't yet have that would signify success for you. Maybe it's a specific amount of income or number of clients, or to lose some weight, or to feel more at peace, whatever it is. You can write it in your notebook or in the chat. You can keep it private, whatever you want. And now at the top of your paper, write, "Dear universe, God, guides, angels, whoever it is you want to write to, I absolutely refuse to," and write what you desire. So perhaps your statement is, "I absolutely refuse to make 10 grand a month," or "I absolutely refuse to lose 20 pounds. Below that, write, "Because I have deep fear that," and finish the sentence. And then again, write, "Because I have deep fear that," and finish the sentence. And just keep going like that until you have ideally 20. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to do as many as you can in 20 seconds. So go for it. And just write as quickly as you can. We're not looking for the perfect fear, just starting to get a few out here. Okay, great. Go ahead and bring that last one to the close. And now at the bottom of your sheet, and I'll put this in the chat afterwards, so don't worry about getting it correctly right now. Write, dear ancestors, guides, creator, universe, I ask that you remove these deepest fears. I pray only for knowledge of your will for me and the power to carry it out. Thank you. And again, I'll put that in the chat. So the next step is to read your list out loud to someone you trust. And this is important. The being witnessed in our fears is part of the healing. So you're going to read all 20 of your fears. The listening person will just say, thank you for your honesty. There's no feedback. There's no processing. You just say, thank you for listening. And then you ritually shred, tear up, or burn your list. And we're going to practice this now too. I invite you to write one of your fears in the chat or just speak it to me right now. You're muted. No one will hear you. As a way of practicing this out loud. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do this. Wonderful. Thank you for your honesty. And you say, thank you for listening. Great. That's it. And that was super quick, but if anything interesting popped out or jumped out at you during those 20 seconds, feel free to throw it into the chat. And after this call, you can complete the full 20 for the day, read it aloud to someone, then tear it up or burn it, whatever you want to do. And ideally, you will repeat this process for 14 days total. What you will discover is that you will uncover more and more deeply held fears as you repeat this process. You will find yourself repeating perhaps the same fears or many of the same fears every day to the point where you will no longer even be interested in them anymore. They will cease to enthrall you. In other words, you will be free from them. Carolyn says it takes about 14 days to strip off a layer of unconscious fear in this way, and I found that to be true. And once that layer is removed, you will experience more freedom and spaciousness and clarity in your life that will allow you to more fully pursue that which you desire, that which would signify success for you. I use this process whenever I'm feeling stuck, and having used it many times for many different things, I typically now only need to do 1 or 2 days on any topic because I can now swiftly identify the fear that is holding me back and shift it. Starting out though, I highly recommend the 14-day approach. I also highly recommend reading Carolyn's book, Existential Kink, for more details and to refine this process. Or you can join my school, where this is one of the tools that we use regularly. And I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, so I'm going to do that now, just like I believe Karen did. Is that how Karen did it? Yes. I'm Larisa Noonan, and I support witchy healers in calling in their right fit clients and creating a spirit-guided business via ancestral healing, existential kink shadow work, and ritual. If you'd like more from me, I'm offering my guidebook, The Witchy Healer, as my gift. You can register to receive that via the link I'm about to pop into the chat. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Larisa. That was fabulous. So fabulous. All right, next to bring us home, last but most certainly not least, Deanna.
Hi. Okay, I gotta share my screen right quick. My gosh, everybody has done such a great job. This has been so fun. And it's fun because I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the things everybody else talked about, but it's going to be through my lens. So it's going to be the same but different. Okay, let me present this thing. I'm assuming you guys can see it. Somebody like unmute and tell me no if you can't. Okay, so I'm talking about how to hustle smart, not hard, and the real deal on business growth, because as everyone I think so far has said, that entrepreneurship is not easy. And in my world and the way I approach business, like you can still totally have fun. Grow fast, work less, make more money. These are all things that we're sold constantly on almost every sales page we go to, right? When we learn how to make a sales page, it feels like there's formulas to say like how quick you're going to how quick it's going to happen, how easy it's going to be, and how it's going to result in more money. That is like the framework we all see, which is really like gets into our heads and makes us feel like if we're not doing these things, we're doing it wrong. So I want to go through a few myths, which I'm like, oh my gosh, we're twins, but and talk about them. So number one, the first myth is the dream of passive income. It makes me so mad. But this guy right here, I don't know. I don't have the chat open because I freak out when I'm presenting, but I love Bravo reality TV shows. So this is Shep from the show Southern Charm. And that is a show in Charleston, South Carolina. And he is rich. His family is rich. I feel like Shep, to me, actually makes passive income, right? Like he probably gets dividends from his family's money. They probably have real estate that he gets money from, whatever. That's passive income. For us, this dream of passive income, like, first of all, whatever we're selling, we have to make the thing. We have to market the things. We have to have lots of people to sell these things to, and we have to keep selling them in order to keep getting income. So this whole idea of passive income is really just about you making things and selling them. And that sounds a lot like a business that we're probably all running. So if you've been sitting here thinking like, I'm working too hard, this should be more passive, this should be easier, I'm here to tell you that this dream of passive income is not all that it's cracked up to be. So I'm going to lead into myth number two, which is that sometimes because of that, we can feel like, oh my gosh, if I'm working really hard, I must be doing something wrong. And as a person, I have a podcast series I do over the holidays called the Anti-Hustle Holiday Series. So I am all about trying to build a business. To me, anti-hustle means like sustainable business. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy all the time. So down here, because I also love TV still, I have my friends from Shark Tank. And I sort of think it's funny because in the online business world, people say like how easy it is, how quick it can be. But if you watch Shark Tank, I don't think that they have ever been like, oh yeah, this is so easy. Anybody can do it. Like it's being an entrepreneur is easy. They're always talking about working long hours, do it like how hard it is. And the idea that it could just be super easy, you make some worksheets and you just like bada bing, bada boom, sell them, is making us feel like if we're working hard, we're not doing it right. And I love what Suzanne said earlier about I can show you how to make 10K months, just pay me 10K. So the people that are saying it's so easy are usually the people who are trying to sell you the dream of it being easy and basically saying that they have the answer to make it easy. But the reality is that somebody has to do the work. It could be you. Some people could outsource it to a VA. And I had to trim this down because it's 10 minutes, but I had this whole thing about capitalism and exploiting people and all the things. So like somebody has to do the work. Like entrepreneurship is hard, and that is not a fun thing to put on a sales page or an easy thing to face. But that is our second myth. The third one is that if it's not growing super fast, it's not working at all. And like I said, or we're doing it wrong. I feel like almost every speaker has touched on us feeling like at one point or another, we feel like we're not doing it right. This guy is the lead singer of a band called Soul Asylum, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and they had their song Runaway Train, which some people would be like, oh my gosh, overnight success, one hit wonder. Like they had a few songs after that, but you don't really think of Soul Asylum as being like a long-standing band. They formed in 1981. Runaway Train came out in 1993. It was on their sixth album. So the lesson here is that things take time, and your content and your marketing and your business is a craft that you have to practice to get better at. Like all these YouTubers who have millions of followers, their first video was not perfect, was not amazing. 1 million people were not watching that immediately when they put it up. 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3 because it's really hard. And it's hard to keep going when you don't feel like people are showing up as quickly as you want them to. So we just kind of get trapped in these 3 myths. And like I said, there's more myths, and I can talk smack about online business all day long if you let me. But these are the top 3 that I was going to, because I feel like they kind of get us stuck in this little circle of feeling like not good enough and like it's not working. So instead of just talking smack all day, I'm going to talk about some solutions that have worked for me. So the first one was me getting really clear on how much money I wanted to make. and not some like pie in the sky number. I remember going to a workshop where the leader was asking us to be really brave and like, I felt a lot of pressure to say a really big number. But in my house, we have 3 spreadsheets that we work off of. And we have, and I think it was Laura was going into this, but like we have a simple one. That means what I need to make right now to make sure that we can pay our bills. My husband and I both contribute to our household, but we need both of our incomes to make it work. So we have our simple budget. I'm doing great on the simple budget. I know we had like, where are you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the phases of business. So I'm good on the simple, and I'm working on my midway budget. Okay, so actually, and I could kind of break this down to say this is around 5K. Midway would be 10, and like this dream one is kind of pie in the sky, would be 20K months, which would really be a gross of 240 yearly, which in the online business world, people are like 7 figures, this, that. Like when I said 240 in that one meeting, I don't want to say I was shamed, but definitely people were like, oh, think bigger, dream bigger. And I was thinking, I don't need to. Like, we have a spreadsheet. And I know that if I get to 20K gross sales per month, the Seymours are going to be sitting pretty. Like, we're going to have everything we need. The midway dream helps get my husband a new car because he doesn't have AC. It's really hot right now in Virginia. So when I did this, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, this is like, I'm doing good. I started to feel good about what I was doing now. It felt a little bit closer to get here. And if I ever do make it here, it's going to be freaking rad. So the pressure is off to grow fast, to post all the time, to convert all the time. Like the pressure is off and it's way more fun. The other thing for me is, and we've all kind of talked about this in our own way, what will your schedule look like? It's not really about working less or working more, who's working harder, who's working less. Like, what does your schedule need to look like? For me, I want to be off work when my kids get off the bus. And there are some times when I'm doing maybe like a podcast series where I work at night. Sometimes my husband goes to band practice and I like my business, so I'll work on my business a little bit. But figuring out like how often do I want to work and setting some boundaries for yourself and really sticking to it. And then pricing, once you figure out how much you need to make and how much you're willing to work, and I know this is like easy math equation people do, but when you scale it down to this is how much I need to make, this is how much I'm working, and you sort of sprinkle in your skill level, your client's needs, and like I said, that pie in the sky money plan, it makes it a lot easier and a lot more realistic so that I'm not like right now, my prices are not based on my dream. I don't have to make 20K months right now. I can raise my prices as I grow up in spreadsheets and my skill increases. And you know what I mean? Like my messaging is better. So it's a lot easier to just deal with that simple level right now. And it's okay. My prices can be kind of like other people might say my prices are too low. But if I'm doing my spreadsheet, I know what I'm doing. And they can all get out of my face. Just kidding. Okay. I'm gotta hurry because I know I'm so wordy. So you're gonna then create content that does that. Plays to your strengths, brings you joy, works with your schedule. And like we've all said, don't give up too quickly because it takes time. And Seth Rogen here, he said one time that if you don't quit, you might make it. And if you quit, you definitely won't. Which again, doesn't make for a great sales page, but I think it's like weirdly inspiring to me. So it's funny too. Okay. And also my gift is for you to stop buying courses. As a teacher and a lifelong learner, I'm not saying stop buying all courses. I'm just saying maybe take a look at your buying habits and just like reconsider when you're buying stuff. So this is a very funny course. You can steal it on the sales page by using a coupon code, steal this course, but that coupon code is written right on the page. And it's a really funny sales page, I think. So at least go look at the sales page and have a good chuckle. Okay. I did it, sort of, almost.
Fabulous. Thanks, Deanna. And I can vouch for the Stop Buying Courses course. It is very well done, hilarious. And my favorite part is she gets a bunch of people in Zoom room with fake names and the cameras off and real talk happens. So
the online business shame show.
That's what it's called. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Those of you on the replay, we're going to stop the recording now. Those of you who live, stay in the room. Got to be in the room where it happens and let the fun begin.